before we get into anything. However, I want to turn it over to Pastor Paul for an opening prayer.
Thank you, Dave. Obviously, beginning in prayer is the right way to begin any meeting, and I think very particularly an AGM. And I want to refer to a verse that I concluded the report with. It says this in Romans 15:5-6. May the God who gives endurance and encouragement give you the same attitude of mind toward each other that Christ Jesus had, so that with one mind and one voice you may glorify the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. So, Lord, as we come together for our annual general meeting here at the International Church of Lucerne, we reflect back on your faithfulness over the past year, and we want to say thank you. We want to say thank you for the way in which you've walked with us, the way in which you've protected us, the way you've guided us. And Lord, we come as instruments in your hands. We come as those who are, in a sense, stewards of this representation of your church here in this city, in this place, in this time. And we ask that you would come and presence yourself with us, that there would be a growing sense of unity of heart and mind and purpose together as we seek to understand what you desire. We thank you for the reports we're going to hear, for each department, for each person who is engaged and sacrificed and given of time and effort. We ask that, Lord, there would be again that sustaining grace for the new year ahead. And so we commit this time into your hands and thank you for your presence, and we thank you for your goodness. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Paul. So, who has an agenda in their possession? Okay, so I've got some agendas here, and I wanted to pass those around. I don't have one for everybody, but I've got a bunch of them, and I want to make sure people are able to follow this. There will be some PowerPoint used today, but we're going to kind of minimize that as much as we can and go old school here. So I think it's important to have the agenda in front of you. The agenda is pretty full. We're going to try to get through the agenda as efficiently, time-wise as possible. Some of these meetings have tended to drone on during the years, as many of us know, and we want to use this time as effectively and efficiently as possible. Firstly, as those agendas are going around, and I mean, you had the chance to review files about 12 days in advance of this meeting, so I think many of you probably did so. That's the first time we've done that. That's part of our new constitution, and that's an effort of the leadership teams and individual report outs to communicate with you in advance, so you've had a chance to read that and go through it. So on the agenda, which you also had in advance, there is there's room for any additions or changes to the agenda, and that's why I'm asking you up front. If I draw your attention to the last point of the agenda, which is any other business. So if there's any other topics that we want to capture, the time to capture them is now. We will not be capturing additional topics during the meeting. But if there's other things that we want to talk about, I can capture them now. And I'm going to pause right there and ask if there is anything, any changes or additions. Yes, Vivian. Can you give it?
I just want to talk about the minutes. Is it the time to say so? Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, moving along. Next point, number 4, is establishing whether a quorum has been met, and also the apologies. First of all, this quorum was part of our old constitution, and I think, Bob, it was 20% of the membership constituted a quorum. So the constitution team, which I was a part of, along with several others here, basically felt that wasn't enough, that basically 20% of the membership was only like 16 people or, something like that. And then a simple majority would be about 10. So, for many things, 10 people could decide everything. And we just felt that wasn't, enough. We thought that more people should be involved. So basically, we currently have, according to Denise, 83 members of ICL. We have 30 persons present, according to Sandra today. And we have 14, possibly 14 proxies. It depends don't think Evelyn's going to come, but okay, right. So we have 30 plus 14, so we have 44 here, or represented through proxies, and that we put that in the Constitution because we know that a lot of people are traveling. It's an international congregation, and we just didn't think people should be penalized because they may not be here. And if they wanted to vote, we felt it was important that they would be able to vote. So that's why we put that in there. And of course, we put it in there, and the congregation approved it. So to pass a simple resolution according to our Constitution, we need a simple majority of a quorum of at least 40% of all members, either represented or by proxy. So that would be about 34 members. 34 members would constitute a quorum, and we've got that because we've got 44, okay? So you can look at what a simple resolution is. To pass the 2022 budget, and there's about 5 things stipulated in the Constitution, we need an affirmative vote of at least 45% of all members, or 38 members. So when we talk about the budget today for 2022, we need 38 members agreeing that this is what we want to do. So is there a quorum? Not really. The quorum is we need to have minimum 45% of all members agreeing to this. Okay, so it's a change from our previous Constitution, but as you can see, we have many more people needed to approve things, and we felt that if we're going to be a congregation-led church, then we need to have people agreeing to some of these things. More people, not just 10, but more like 38. Okay? Is there any questions about the voting or a quorum or what any of these things? It's a little bit, more complicated than it was, but the bottom line is we wanted more people to vote and have things, approved by more people. Okay, so apologies, we have plenty. Right, okay. So let me just go down the proxies here before we get further here. Parul Schnitzler, she gave her proxy to Denise. Nick and Barbara Abele, also to Denise, so Denise will have 3. And I have these cards here that I will be giving to the proxies so that when we get votes passed around, you'll get 3 extra votes, okay? So we know you can hold that up when they go around. Paul Weger would be proxied by Linda. Emily and Lucas Cower will be proxied by Sandra. Annalise Vilder-Smith and Einar will be proxied by Bob, as well as Nick and Jean Gibbons, who are away. So that will be 4 for Bob. Gabriel Orechkov will be proxied by Nora. Nora is here. Hi, Nora. And Carolyn Nobili will be proxied by me for the budget only. And Nico, what is Nico's name? Yeah, we all know Nico. Will be proxied by Jill. And then Evelyn probably will not be here, so Pastor Paul, you can vote for her as you wish. So those are really the apologies as well. Are there any other apologies I missed there on that list? Okay. Annalise? Annalise did not put in no, just Gabriel. So I think we'll leave that for that. All right. The minutes of the meeting from 2021. So you had a question. First of all, the minutes were sent. We neglected to send out the minutes 12 days before. Sorry about that. That was an oversight. No? Sorry, correction. Information overload. So.
However, it got worse. And I'm just going to slide under the table because I did send the minutes of the meeting last night, but they were 1 year in advance. So this morning at 7:30 a.m., I sent the correct ones to your email. I hope you've had a chance to see them. I could tender my resignation if you wish.
Denied. You're not. Vivian, you had a question about the minutes.
The fourth paragraph of the minutes, election of committee members. I would love to you to delete my name and how it is written. It doesn't sound good.
Yeah, she got the. It's the wrong. It's the wrong minutes. That was. Sorry.
I do have a comment about the minutes. Could I ask that the title of the minutes of the ICL AGM 2020, that should, for me, it should be the 2021, because, okay, we look back at 2020, but what's more important is we're looking forward to where we're going in 2021 and now this year to 2022. And we vote on things like the budget and on elected members for the leadership and maybe sometimes new missions and things like that, which is much more important for what's in the minutes. So I just think that calling last year's minutes the 2020 minutes is more confusing.
Yeah, it would be helpful to give. I think that's what the mistake was. That's when I looked at that and I got the date of the year wrong.
Yeah, so if we can change the minutes to 2021 on the title.
We have a proposal to change the title of the minutes from 2020 to 2021. Do we hear a second of that? Okay, so is there anybody opposed to that? I don't think so. So I don't think we have to vote on that. So it is confusing. I mean, the date of this meeting is 2022, so I think we'd like to also have 2022 on this meeting minutes. So the last one would be 2021. We'll change it. Vivian, I think your question was about the minutes from the previous year, because that was so. Okay. Those were. Okay. I don't know if we want to look at that offline, but those minutes were already approved. Okay, good. All right. Very good. I don't know why we wait so long to approve the minutes of last year. Does anybody, boy, that's a long time ago. Not that anybody can remember that, but that's what we do.
Well, they get sent out about 3 or 4 weeks after this meeting with a request for feedback. And there's very seldom any feedback. And therefore, they're there sitting if anybody would like to see them. And therefore, we send them again before this meeting to remind you. But it's very hard to remember what we said a year ago, isn't it? Just a comment on that. The minutes of all meetings, and especially the AGM from last year, are available under Church Suite, under My Church Suite. You'll find them.
Okay, we're going to appoint scrutineers, but first of all, we have to approve the minutes. So instead of voting on this, which we can do, do we want to vote on this via secret ballot, or is this not a big deal and we can just go ahead and approve this? Anybody against the minutes of last year? Okay, then I would say we unanimously approve it and proceed, because we'll have other things to vote on later. And thank you for that. Okay, number 6, the appointment of scrutineers. We would like to have 2 scrutineers. What does a scrutineer do? A scrutineer counts votes, and we'll hand out some ballots and then collect them and tally up the vote, so that and the reason why we're doing this is because I think people want to vote by secret ballot on certain things, and we've done that traditionally in our church. So we'd like to have 2 volunteers, if I could. Anybody burning to Roland. Thank you very much. Anyone else to volunteer? Young lady, maybe? Isabella, thank you. So it will be Roland and Isabella being our scrutineers. Make a note of that. Okay. Moving on. Number 7 on the agenda. Proposal voting of new church council and ST members if applicable. We currently have 4 members of our church council. We can have a maximum of 5 members, and to my knowledge, no council members are stepping down, and no one has applied to become a member of the council. So there's no need to talk about that. The way that would go is that when the meeting is announced 6 weeks prior to the AGM, people have a chance to come forward with a candidature the next 2 weeks. And then there's a process building up to the AGM where that person would be vetted and brought before the church. But as we don't have any candidates this year for the church council, and the church council is basically full, no need to do that. Moving on to the stewardship team, we have 3 members. Sorry. Yes.
I have a comment to make about agenda item number 7. The people who serve on the leadership teams on the church council, their tenure is limited. So it would be good if church members could think in advance about if they would like to apply for next year, because it could be that the church council all stands down together. They are elected for a period of 2 years with the possibility of another 2 years. But 2 years will be up, and next year will be coming up for the second 2-year term. It would be inappropriate if all church council members were to be elected at the same time, to change altogether. So next year we would be asking in advance for you to consider joining one of the leadership teams.
Thank you, Denise. The stewardship team currently has 3 members. That is Susan Zimmerman, Mariana Van Cleef, and myself. Mariana was a carryover from her time on the ICL leadership team, and her term is up, and she is chosen to stand down as from this meeting. Similar to what Denise just said, we also need candidates, and we needed a candidate to fill Mariana's spot. Unfortunately, no candidates stepped officially forward, and so the stewardship team has contacted a few individuals over the last few weeks, given a few people some hints, etc. People that we thought might have the skills to complement our team and join our team, but we have not been able to identify a member. So we do have several people helping us out in various areas, and I'll be alluding to that in my report, and that's very good. But right now, we have a 2-person team of Susan and myself, and we just throw the door open to any candidates who might wish to step forward. What is the stewardship team doing? I will tell you that in my report. I think it's been a very rewarding year. This church has a lot of resources that we've dug into, and it's actually quite interesting work. So we found all kinds of stuff we didn't even know we had. But anyway. More on that later. But I mean, if you are moved to do that, please let us know. Otherwise, unfortunately, we're going to have to go forward with 2 members, and our terms are also 2 years. We can continue as well, but similar to what Denise just said, we're going to need people to step up over the next months and year to step forward with the stewardship team. Yes, sir.
Just a quick, if there is no one to be voted on into the stewardship team at the AGM, what does the Constitution allow as a process for in between now and next year someone to potentially come on to the stewardship team? There'll need to be some sort of membership vote, I assume, for that. How does that work?
My understanding is that if a candidate steps forward, they have to be approved by the by a special general meeting. It says we don't have that, person today. So if someone steps forward, they will be vetted, and if they are found to be a suitable candidate, they will be brought in front of the congregation and voted on. Okay. So we're going to move on to the reports, and what I'm going to ask is that we have several reports here. That's going to take some time, and there likely are going to be questions on reports, and it's felt after some discussion that the best thing to do is to hold all questions till the end, because somebody might report and then it gets carried over into somebody else's report, so your question might be answered in somebody else's report. So if you have a question during a report, note it down, and we'll come back to the questions. We'll have a question and answer time after Mike's report on the 21 budget versus plan and before his budget proposal for 2022. But we're going to, you're free to ask questions, no problem at all, but we'd just like you to hold them till all the reports are done. Thank you. And I'm going to pass over to Pastor Paul, and I think we're going to start using this mic now up here. It's probably easier.
Well, I'm used to standing here, obviously, preaching. This is slightly different. And I look, in some ways, with different eyes at an AGM. It's reflecting back very much as well as beginning to look ahead. And looking back on what has been quite a journey in the last 12 months. For all of us, obviously, it's not been quite what we would have anticipated or hoped for in terms of various restrictions and what we've had to curtail in terms of social events, tea and coffee, meals together. That's hit me hard, personally and pastorally, because essentially I'm a pastor. I am a shepherd. I care for the flock, and not being able to gather and meet together in a broader variety of ways has been difficult. For me, the church ultimately, it is a family. And throughout the years of ministry, trying to engender that sense of family, that connection, that unity is been so important. And I look back and, yeah, there's been frustrations, there's been disappointments. But there's also, as I began this report, with a lot of gratitude as well. I'm grateful primarily to God for his grace and for his guidance and for his provision over the course of the year, through the membership, through those who attend, through the way in which he has helped us to harness the various gifts and talents and abilities in different ways. To the establishment a year ago today of the Stewardship Team and the Church Council, and for the way in which each person who were appointed have really helped to step up and be engaged and have been such a great support to myself and to the church. One of the ways in which we were able to express that sense of family were with the two themed continental services that we had. And I was just so grateful for that Asian service that we had earlier on in the year, and the Americas service as well towards the end of the year. Wonderful to have people taking part and sharing in that. Grateful too, because of the COVID situation, for the tech team and the live streaming and the opportunity to try to allow folk who weren't attending to at least tune in, be part of the family, even if not physically present. Again, part of my pastoral heart, a bit saddened in that many, I understand, haven't availed themselves of that opportunity, and Sundays haven't been so significant in the agenda as a time to really come close to one another and to God. And I hope with COVID situation changing, we will be able to pull folk, well, God will woo folk back in through his Spirit. That's the greatest thing. The preaching in the church last year for me was obviously very, very critical, really important to be able to bring the word of God in series like Nehemiah, the signs of Christ's messiahship, the attributes and nature of God, the life of Joseph, and a number of key themes to help us gain a sense of momentum, a sense of mission, a sense of focus together. I trust that came through okay. Grateful for the Sunday school and for the new materials that they were able to put into place. We're going to hear their report later. For Bridget and the whole team, so grateful for that. For missions, Sandra heading that up and the work that was done there. You can see a few more details in my report and her report. Uganda was then introduced as one of the mission support partners in the last 12 months. We were able to conduct a few family-type events with the open air service, which was really well attended at Flueli Runft, and then the over 60s afternoon tea. But we did try to do other events, barbecues, and some of the young family events, unfortunately needed to be cancelled or put off. Glad that Laura did those walks last year to try and encourage folk to be part of that. I hope you see that with the program that was presented last year, I was trying to weave in again and again opportunity for informal interaction, trying to strengthen those connections, that sense of family. The new members coming in was a great encouragement, and to see the young adults, the new couples coming into the life of the church is probably the greatest encouragement that I've seen last year, because it shows God's working beyond anything we can do to prepare a way for a brighter future, not discounting at all anyone in the older generation, but obviously we need to see new folk who are going to help to carry the responsibilities and weight of things further. So training is important, not just for that generation, but for all of us. And we put in training opportunities with Martin Allen coming and with the marriage enhancement, which Veronica and Christian led so well. And other opportunities as well. We're looking to increase training in this coming year, emerging leadership training using John Maxwell material. Martin Allen is coming again to open our hearts more to the work of the Holy Spirit. And although things were delayed with things like small group development and the strengthening of the ministry teams, I'm trusting that will continue into the year ahead. Just towards a conclusion, communication is clearly so important, and I've tried with the eConnect every week and with the thoughts of the day that were initially set up just for the lockdown period, but have carried on every Monday to Friday throughout the last year. It's ways to try to give some sort of point of contact to keep us connected. And I'm grateful for the social media work that Isabella is heading up, and the website work that Eric was doing, and now Sebastian and Barbara, and for the work that obviously Denise as secretary is ongoingly doing, all the communication channels, and again to the tech team for the online stuff that we're needing to do a bit more further. So all in all, I really reflect back on the year with a sense of gratitude, a sense of frustration in certain ways, but a sense of anticipation as well. I trust that I'm grateful for the intercessory prayer that there is in the life of the church, for the worship team, the counseling, all those ministries that help to draw us closer to God's heart. But trust too that there will be a further envelopment of that in the time to come. So thank you for being part of the life of the church here. Thank you for playing your part, and I trust as we move into the further parts of 2022 that God will stir us further into his purposes for his glory.
Hello. Next report will be from the Church Council, Veronica.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am speaking on behalf of Church Council, and so you have received the reports a few weeks back, and since we have actually revised the report from Council, I don't know if you have had the time to read through that revision. It's really only the last portion of the report, which I will be reading after my summary of the Church Council report. After the new constitution was established, the leadership team serves now under two headings, which is Church Council and the Stewardship Team. The handover of the previous leadership to the current one took place in March 2021. And we are very thankful to the previous leadership who provided us with the constitution that provided a framework, a pathway for our role and function, in supplement to, of course, God's Word. Church Council meets on a regular basis together with Pastor Paul, and on two occasions, we had a joint meeting with the stewardship team to discuss matters that related to both teams' input. Minutes of these meetings are sent out to the ICL members for transparency and feedback purposes. And we really do invite you to read through those minutes and give us your questions or feedback relating to what you've read on those minutes. Fulfilling point 1.1 in the Constitution, a performance appraisal process was developed and implemented for the pastor to gain constructive feedback, not just from the members of the church council or the stewardship team, but also feedback from members of the body. Now, the process is expected to continue annually. Now, for the portion that was added here was meant to elaborate further to give a better understanding of the process that we went through, which we felt was needed. And that portion is the continuing fluctuating COVID measures issued by BAG caused challenges to how we are able to gather. But as Romans 13, verses 1 to 7, and 1 Peter 2, verses 13 to 23, as well as Titus 3, reminded us of how we are to submit ourselves to the governing authorities, we were pushed to be more creative in looking at ways how we can be inclusive under the restrictions. There are some differences and grievances among ICL attendees, and we wanted to acknowledge everyone's voice, because everyone's voice matters. And for that reason, we eventually ran a vote back in September 2021, and the results of that vote revealed how divided ICL was in the method that works best for all of ICL members. And we were reminded of the principles taught in Romans 14 as well as James 2, that we are not to be partial, that we are to have no favoritism towards any person or groups based on status, whether it's financial, social, length of membership or attendance, whether they're vaccinated or not vaccinated, etc. And this continues to push us to be creative in how we can make the most of an unfavorable situation for all of us. It is our hope that ICL shall continue to persevere through these challenging times and conditions with mercy and grace to maintain unity in the bond of peace, being mindful of what Jesus said in John 13, verses 34 and 35, that the world is to know that we are Christ's disciples through the way that we love one another. So we continue to put our hope and trust in God's guidance for ICL in 2022.
Thanks, Veronica. I don't really fit back here very well. Okay, the next report is from the stewardship team, and the stewardship team, I mean, we're stewards. We're stewards of all the resources that the church has, and so as we were also named last first quarter, Susan, Marian, and I, along with support from Denise and Mike, started working on all these things that we see around us. And basically, one of the first things we saw was how many different, nooks and crannies we had in the church, and all the various stuff that had been compiled in those nooks and crannies over time. It's an amazing thing. And, some of you saw that we had a church sale, and that didn't go too well, but I mean, at least you got a display of some of the stuff we've still got. So we're working on that. But anyway, I'm kind of going through the main highlights of 2021 and 2022. And we also have minutes of our meetings. You haven't seen many of them because we don't have very many meetings. So in case you're thinking about joining a team, there's not a lot of meetings, okay? We meet when we have to, but we're more doing, okay? So think about it. One of the first things we wanted to do was meet with Intus, who is the administrator for this building, the EMK, which is the Evangelic Methodistische Kirche in Switzerland. They have a bunch of buildings all over Switzerland, this being one of them. They own the whole building. And we haven't seen a lot of them over the years, but I mean, we do see a lot of Intus, who is their administrator. So we wanted a meeting with both of them to kind of go over the inventory list, because the first thing we wanted to do was clear out some stuff we had, but we didn't want to clear out stuff that was on the inventory list in the official contract that we signed many years ago. So we went through that list. They said, okay, well, we don't need this, we don't need that. So a lot of these things were taken off the list, and the list was renewed, which was great. We talked about this organ up here. This is it's a wonderful thing, but it's a very costly thing to maintain. And they said they weren't going to maintain it anymore. So if we wanted to do a maintenance on it, we would have to pay for it. And that's fine. I mean, at least that it is still here as long as it's here. But that first meeting with Intus was very good, because we've had several issues in the meantime where we've had to replace these lights. And these lights up here on the very top, you need a special ladder and or lift platform to get to them. Anytime you want to do some work, like we had to replace things in the kitchen, we had to replace those ventilator fans in the Sunday school area, Bridget. So we have to contact them, and then they have to work through a company to get it done, and then somebody has to be here to let them in and supervise the work, etc. So we did several projects, and those are in the report. And that was great. It was great to see that the building is being maintained. We do need to maintain it. We do need to take care of it. It's our church home, and we need to make sure that things are working. The COVID situation was also a challenge for us. We had to keep up the Schutz concept. Mariana was involved with that, and then I was too. And we closed off the back area and did a 15-person area with a television screen. That really went over well. I mean, that was not a very good thing. Nobody was happy back there. I was back there a couple of times myself. We tried. We tried to use Church Suite more, and I think we finally did on signing people up for checking in. That worked out very well, actually. It's a great system, and we want to use more of it. And let's see, we have an apartment upstairs, not only for the pastor, but we have another apartment where we had two young ladies there. One of them left for a short-term assignment in Finland, and the other one moved out completely, and we have to manage that. Somebody has to move them in, somebody has to move them out contractually. So somebody has to do that. We did it. And then we strengthened some of our house rules. We have other people coming in here. We have a group coming in every other Saturday. The Jesus group, who's a group of mainly young Swiss families, and they're here, and that's great to use our church, and other people do too, but we want to make sure that they leave the place like they found it, and that's not always the case, so we had to meet with them and give them some new house rules and some expectations on what we expect them to do. So that kept us busy in 2021 and 2022. Some of our top priorities. We're going to talk a little bit later about the audiovisual project that some of you have heard about, so I won't talk about that right now. There's still plenty of handyman jobs to do around the church. Susan has a whole list of things that need to be done. It's amazing, and we've got Andre Lau to step forward to do a lot of these things. You've already started, so great, Andre, thank you. We want to work on an ICL handbook. We talked about that handbook when we came up with the new constitution. Mariana's got that, and she's going to continue that even though she's not on the team. And what is that actually? I mean, we have a lot of processes or things that need to be documented that, you know, so if somebody takes over and they want to do something, that there's a process that shows them what to do and how to do it. And we felt that these things should not go in the Constitution, but there should be a handbook that helps us, you know, manage day-to-day jobs and tasks in the church. So she's going to be working on that. We're going to continue to discard or sell unwanted items, and I think we're going to start putting more stuff on Facebook Marketplace and try to sell some of these things that may not get a lot of money for them, but I think we can get some money for some things. And if we can't, if something doesn't move, then we're going to discard it. We've got a whole raft of stuff up in the archives. We've got stuff upstairs in the attic. We've got stuff downstairs. It's mind-boggling. It's really, it's like a museum. So what can I say? Also, another thing we want to do is we want to clean out this former teen room downstairs. I don't know what we're going to do with that teen room. We've had several discussions on it, but we certainly would like to clean it out, clear it out, and have it be space available for something, Sunday school class or something. To summarize, the ST has been a very rewarding experience to me to see all the stuff that we've got around the building, and also to work with some of the people who have helped us, like Denise with keys, Carolyn Nobile with the library, Andre stepping up, and others, you know, just giving a hand here and there, and we really appreciate that. And you know, we just want to take care of our church infrastructure and see the church flourish and thrive, you know, with all the stuff that we've got, and make sure it's all working and is in place. So again, if anybody feels like helping us or being a member of the ST, please talk to Susan or me, and we'd be happy to fill you in on that. And thank you for your attention. Next up is Bridget with the Sunday School report.
Okay, Sunday school. We have about 40 children in ICL, and we are facing big challenges everybody else, like families are not coming because of registrations or their fear. I don't know what the case is, but some classes sometimes we have to combine them because we have no children in the class. So the class is very small sometimes, but also it can also be big. So it's a challenge. But in my report, there's a mistake. I said there is 28 teachers, but actually it's only 18. Teachers and helpers, yeah. But they are very open. If we have no children, then they come up here if they have space. And then we only have, yeah, they are just open for how many children are there or not. We have every Sunday, the children come together and then we pray for our mission kids, Anita. And last year, we had every month 50 francs. So I'm very thankful for all the parents who bring the coin, or the children bring the coin, so we can reach this 50 francs each month. So that's very grateful for that. But sometimes the children don't want to put that coin in the box because they think, oh, I can get better candy. So that's sometimes all a challenge. Well, in other parts of the world, the children really don't have anything. So we try to explain that in this part of the world, yes, we can go to the store and buy candies, but in other worlds, they don't have really nothing. So that's sometimes a little challenge in the class. Then we have Each Sunday, we do like a prayer wall. The kids come, and we ask them to pray for, mostly it's for test and class, but then also lately they pray for families and friends. So they get really comfortable with one another to say, okay, yeah, there is a lot of sickness in this class, we need to pray. And the next Sunday they come, and sometimes they share, well, my prayer got answered. I got a 6 in math, I don't know. But something it's really encouraging that they see prayer really works. And that's my goal, that they learn that prayer is really, God is listening to them and God is really caring for the children. And also the teaching resource we have, it's Scripture Union. It's a fun book with lots of activities, with Bible reading, if they are old enough, with crafts, with singing, with prayers. Yeah, so next year, we're gonna keep on the second book that Evelyn ordered for us. So I think, yeah, that's good. And 4 till 5 times in a year, we have mission class, and that's taught by Sandra and Isabel, and they are very creative and make mission really fun. So we like to teach them that mission is important in the church life, And once a month, I try to do praise. So we have this special session of worship and music, and then I also do a more extra time for Sanita, that we have more time for her and pray for her and be more towards her, that they have a relationship with that girl. That's also one thing in my heart. And then we have the teens. The teens are facing a really big challenge right now because their age is from 11 to 16, and some of them, they never leave the teens class. So you can imagine teens class gets bigger and bigger, and the gap gets bigger and bigger. So after the summer break, we have like 5 boys who are 12 to 13, and that means the teens class will be even bigger. So, we have to figure out something, I don't know what yet, but that's a big challenge that they are facing, and I don't know yet anything else. So, but that's a big thing on my heart, that we need to find a solution, whatever we decide to do. We had some events. Just before summer breaks, I took them outside and I taught them creation and worship. How can we combine them? How can they see God's creation outside, not only in the building? And that was really fun, and we did a little booklet. They could gather some crafts and sticks, and then I combined them. What did God create? And it was really, the kids had really fun if you do some practical stuff with them, not just talking about it. And also in August, for the last 2 years, we did the Sunday blessings. So for me, it's very important that the children and the teachers and the congregation get together and see the work we do. And that's not just church and Sunday school, but we are one family, and that we can take care of each other. And I gave each person or each member one child that they pray for a year. And I hope you do. But I just want that we combine, that you care for the Sunday school, and that the children know that somebody's here that you get the prayer for. And we have the Christmas. For me, it's also important that the children learn it's not about, oh, I get a gift. It's more than that, that they see what God did for us and that God came to us. So I made a little scenery downstairs in the classroom, and we retold the story by ourselves. The kids did that, and it was really fun to see. And we sang songs when Jesus was lying in that cradle, and it was really sweet moment. So it was really nice. And then the second service, the kids came up, they played a little song, so it was really nice. And then they get a little gift, so introduction of Bible studying with a fun little book with, I know, they can do crafts or they have little pictures in it, but it's all based on the Bible, and so it's an introduction of how to study the Bible. And then we have family events every month on a weekend where family comes together. They go out in the playground. The parents can have fellowship with one another. We had barbecues. We went to Eigenthal. What else? We went sledding together. And that was all with the Sonneneckers. So I want to say thanks to them. They organized everything. Their heart is that we bring the families together out of the church and to have fellowship, that the kids can play together and the parents can have some fun together. Yeah, and for me, I ask that you pray for the teens class, that, there is a lot of teens who have, they have this WhatsApp group because of registration, but the WhatsApp group are really special to them because they're gonna put in prayer requests, and so they are really connected. My prayer request would be that they receive discipleship and mentorship, that they can grow because they have so many questions, especially when you're 14 to 17 or even longer, they have deeper questions maybe. And maybe this class cannot give them that. So that would be one request. And also for next year, for the next 4 months where we have to find a solution, that you just ask to give us the right, or whatever. I don't know, it's hard for me because I don't know what we're gonna do. So just pray for the teens, that we find a solution for them. And also for me, for Sunday school, from preschool to senior class, that the family will come back together, that they send the children to the class, and that we could have full classes, and that we can teach them, and that they learn a lot of God and how God is entering in their personal daily lives. Okay.
Thank you, Brigitte. Next report is our missions report from Sandra.
Good afternoon, church. So, first thing before I start, I have to make a correction to my written report, which I hope all of you have read. I stated in my written report that the ICL kids had contributed $300 to Sangeeta's living expenses. I was wrong. The correct amount should be $600. They met their target of 50 francs a month. I was just unaware of some of the smaller amounts that were given. So we thank God, and we thank the kids and parents for their generosity. And the next thing I want to do is I want to welcome Emily to the missions coordination team. You guys all know Emily. She leads worship. And I think she was only in church like a few weeks here in Switzerland, and then she approached me and she said, she would love to help with missions. And she comes with great experience. She used to work for World Vision, and she has such a passion for sharing God's love with people. And I cannot tell you how much that is an answered prayer to me, to have Emily on my team. And she has such great ideas, some of which you will hear about at the end of my report. So I won't go through the written report, but like Dave said, if you have any questions, you can ask later. Now, I have a question for you, so I apologize to people online. I'm going to walk away from the mic. So, my question is, has God ever asked you to do something difficult? Okay? So maybe God asked you to hold on to this cup, which is filled right to the brim, and not spill a single drop. Okay, difficult, but doable, right? Okay, so you hold it on, and your hands are getting tired too. Your hands are getting tired, and God says, okay, put a cardboard on it. And you go, oh, okay, that's better. Now I won't spill anything, right? Then God tells you, right, now I want you to turn this cup upside down. And then you say to yourself, you say to God, what do you want me to do? It's going to go everywhere. The water is going to spill. Right? Okay. But you know it's God, right? So you have to do what God tells you to do, right? So here we go. We're going to turn the cup upside down. Okay. You go, okay, I did it, I passed the test. That's it, right, God, that's it. Then God says, let go. I don't know if this is going to work. Let go of the cardboard. And you go, really? It is really going to go all over the place this time, God. And God said, trust me. Let go of the cardboard. And you do.
He would have been much more tense than he had playing Spike his head instead of.
So, that's what trusting God is about. It's about letting go when God tells you to let go, and you let God be in charge, okay? And I believe that in 2021, that's been pretty much the way for all of our missionaries, is that God has been asking them, trust Him more, trust Him even when it doesn't make sense. Okay? So, second slide. That's what Nora and her team in India have done. They have kept their focus on God, the rock eternal. Amidst the chaos of the pandemic, the lack of government help, Nora not being able to go over to India, they were faithful. They kept on going. They kept on teaching the children. They kept on reaching out to the poor. They kept on sharing God's love. Even though the ministry had faced some financial difficulties, as we know all charities have faced in the last year. But their trust in God bore fruit. God gave them more children to care for, and more centers were opened, and existing centers were expanded, and that was fantastic. Unfortunately, they also faced violent persecution, but they kept going. Next slide. Annalise ministry also faced persecution on the east coast of India. Churches were broken into, property was damaged, lives were in danger. But even in this situation, when they had every right to be afraid, their lives were threatened, they carried on. They distributed ration bags, homemade masks, hand sanitizers, PPE kits to people in lockdown, to the disabled, to children, to needy, to quarantine centers. They are even looking ahead and planning new causes to educate the people in these poor villages. Annalise has also been unable to visit her ministry in person, but I know that both Nora and Annalise are doing everything they can to support their teams from here. And we can do our part to support them by getting on our knees and praying for them, trusting God to provide for them, for their ministry, for the people they care for, and for whatever they might need to carry on their ministry. Slide 3. Paul does his best, not just for ICL as our pastor, but he also strives his best for the Source Project, a project which is God-inspired, and at this time of hurt and confusion is very much needed, as Paul was told when he went on his trip to Uganda in November. Paul wanted desperately to go before November, I know that. But God is in charge. And in God's perfect timing, in God's perfect way, Paul went when God appointed him to go and found that God had prepared the way for him. The right people were met at just the right time. God acted, and more people got to hear about the Source Project, and each one of them was enthusiastic and had something that they could bring to the project. And this project would see young people's lives changed. Young people directed to the source, the true source of strength, integrity, and love. I'm very happy to report that now there's an officially registered nonprofit called the Source Project in Uganda. So God's work can truly begin. Next slide. That's the thing about trusting God. We get to see His plans come alive when our confidence is in God. God gave Kim and Jet a big vision to change decades of ingrained social attitude towards the value of human life, especially the lives of people who have been born less than perfect in the eyes of the fallen world. They said yes and kept on saying yes, even when some steps seemed less than logical. Last year, they felt God leading them to shut down their social media. And for a charity in this day and age to shut down your social media means it's a big step, because you're literally not going to be able to advertise or reach people who are online. But God had a plan, and their vision for changing the social attitude in Ukraine is coming to pass, because they now have a team of young Ukrainians who are part of the Wide Awake family. They have raised them up, they have trained them, and these young Ukrainians want to be this change in their society. And their work has been noticed by the local government as well as the wider community. Next slide. Being a community, a family, and a refuge, especially for children who might otherwise have fallen through the cracks, is what Ricky and Lei Hua had envisioned when they started Care Corner Orphanage all those years ago. Today, they are known in Chiang Mai as the place children who have lost parents or whose parents cannot care for them can go to. They have always trusted God to provide everything they need while they quietly work, caring for these children, teaching them about Jesus. Now God is the very refuge they need on a very personal level as Lei Hua goes through cancer treatment. We are still not clear, but it might possibly be stage 4 cancer. They continue to trust God for Lei Hua's health as well as for the staff to be able to manage, while Jacinth, who has been running things since the pandemic, is in Singapore to support her mother and family as they seek treatment, and our prayers are with them. Next slide. Trusting God and not fearing bad news is exactly what Beatrice and Xavier had done. They stayed in Bangladesh as long as they could so they can provide a calm to their hospital staff and patients. They also helped the poor through COVID by providing food packs, and they provided some work, some jobs in and around the hospital. So in July last year, they had to return to Switzerland on home leave, knowing that it's possible that their work permits might never arrive because they had submitted their work permits 18 months ago, and there is still no news. They have seen others in the hospital denied work permits, and we're talking about medical professionals who are needed in the country who have been denied work permits for no reason. So it's not very encouraging, but they continue to trust that God will provide a way. They also trusted God to help their teams while they were here in Switzerland. So they are back in Bangladesh now, but only on a tourist visa. And they plan to keep renewing that tourist visa for as long as they need to, or until their work permit comes through. So we continue to pray for them for their work permits. Next slide. So being an engineer, There's no picture of Alex because Alex doesn't like pictures of himself. Being an engineer would have been easy for Alex to rely on his calculations and numbers and facts, but he didn't. He put his trust in God. He trusted God to keep his team in Nepal safe, trusted God to provide resources for the projects in the mountain villages to carry on. He is now trusting God to bring him back to Nepal at the right time. And while he has been here in Switzerland, he's been working with the Nepal team remotely and keeping up fundraising efforts. But at the same time, his family has gone through some difficult times. His father passed. His mother is in very poor health. His children had to leave their life in the US and come back to Switzerland because that life in the US did not pan out. So he has had to help his children through those difficulties as well. But again, they, as a family, have not put their hope in what they knew, but they put their hope in God and in the plans that God has for them. Next slide. So we have seen how our missionaries have trusted God through all their ups and downs, which brings me back to this most well-known verse in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. I often ask myself, do I trust God? Do I trust God in my own life? Do I trust God with the missions work that I try to help with? I have always said to myself, okay, 7 missions is the maximum ICL can support. If we add any more, we will just be stretched too thin. The money won't be meaningful to our missionaries. But money is never, ever, ever, never, ever a barrier to God's work getting done. My own life experiences is a testament to that, and the fact that ICL, through just 2 events at the end of last year, met our challenge amount to raise more than 3,300 francs to match our target, our challenge amount for missions, is a testament in itself that money is no matter to God. So a very generous donor had given towards mission towards the end of the year. We thank this generous donor. With this generous donation, there was an indication that we should include a local mission to our list of support. And I hesitated for one moment. But because of this verse in Proverbs, and because I know that as a church we are called to make a difference to our local community, and supporting a local mission is one way of doing that, I made the proposal to the church council, and they approved adding a local mission to our list of support missions. So, and at the suggestion of the same donor, we picked a mission where one of our congregation members is involved in. So let me introduce you to WinRad Lucerne. Next slide, yeah. So, Franny, some of you know her, Franny Dipletzer. So she has been involved in WinRad for a number of years, and I spoke to her to find out more. So it was founded by 2 brothers who were drug addicts who found Jesus. They started just by making contact with people who hung around the train station on Perron 2, and just reaching out to the poor and the addicts, just making conversation with them. And then they provided a spaghetti dinner once a month, and the ministry has just grown from there. And now they have clothes distribution, Friday coffees, hairdressing services, summer cookout, Christmas program. And even though their ministry is mainly focused on bringing hope to people on substance abuse, since the pandemic, they have seen more out-of-work people come to them, more people with depression, more lonely elderly people, more people with family issues. God has truly blessed their work, and through the years of building relationship with all these needy people, they have shared Jesus, and now they actually have a Bible study group with these people. This is such meaningful work and very important work, and I think it's our privilege to partner with them. I hope that sometime this year we will be able to hear from one of the founders directly. In the meantime, I encourage you to look at the website, check out the ministry. They have lots of videos on there which will tell you more about the work that they do. And if you're interested to volunteer with them, you can speak to me or you can speak to Franny. She's more than happy to tell you about it. Her heart is really for this ministry. Okay, so one last bit. Thank you for bearing with me to here. Now, last slide. Yeah. At the beginning, I mentioned that Emily had some great ideas. So we've discussed these ideas and we like to let you know about some of them. The most exciting one is missions touch points, that first point there. A touch point is an event or a short time where you can get connected with a specific mission and learn more about that mission. Touch points would be things like missions, prayer points during service. You guys all did one last Sunday. Thank you, Paul, for leading that wonderfully. Where you prayed for Xavier and Beatrice in Bangladesh. And another touch point would be a short few minutes video that our missionaries would send to us about the work that they do, and we would show that during service. We are also looking into special small group Zoom sessions so you can get to know our missionaries on a more personal level. And of course, in-person mission report will happen when the missionaries are here in Switzerland. General information for each missionary will be made available to anybody who's interested. We'll have that as a PDF or as a paper format. It will be out at the back near the missions notice board, or you can just ask Emily or I, and we can send them to you. We also have plans to send out a missions update. We hope every few months, we're not sure yet. But this missions update you will have to sign up for. We're not going to send it to everybody because not everybody is interested to read it. So we will let you know when we're ready to ask people to sign up for the missions update. And last but not least, our notice board at the back will be revamped, and it will feature a different missionary every few months. So look out for that, so that we can put more details and you get to know more about the specific mission. And of course, missions events will still happen. So take out your calendar, mark your calendar, because March 26th, we have a wonderful charity piano concert featuring a wonderful Taiwanese pianist. And that's it. That's my presentation, my missions report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra. Next presentation is Worship Team with Walter.
Hello, church. First thing I want to say is never follow Sandra after do a presentation. There's no way of topping that, right? Thank you, and first of all, a mea culpa, an apology from me, because you'll notice there was no written report provided for the worship team, because in all my years serving in worship in ICL, I've never had to do a report for AGM. So I was thinking for the longest time what to put down, and I guess I didn't put it down in writing in time. But I have written down some points, so hopefully this will suffice for this year, and then next year we'll see. Thank you. So 2021, I guess, was a strange time and challenging time for all of us, I think, particularly for me and for those of us in the worship team, simply because of all the things that was going on. Church services were set for one form, and then suddenly things change. People have travel plans, and then they had to change, and working out a schedule. So it was a challenging time for me, and I'm sure for a lot of those that were serving on the pulpit as well. But through it all, we want to thank God for His greatness, His kindness, His goodness, and above all, that He is sovereign and that He holds everything and He is in control. And above all, He provides what we need at the point that we need it. So I've been in ICL for a long time. I think for most of that time as well, I've been serving in the worship team, and I work with many pastors. Some pastors, they get it easier. It's easier to work with them when you want to plan a service in terms of music. Other pastors, they leave it to you, to decide and all that. But I have to say, first of all, Paul, you came to us at the right time, because for me as a worship leader, to be able to work with a pastor that gets it and that's able to be sensitive to the leading of the Spirit and is able to help in the planning of the services, I think to me that is a great help. And I believe for most of you as well. So thank you, Paul, very much for your time, your patience, your leadership, and also being able to give way sometimes. We want to thank God for his provision. So when I started, or rather throughout all this time, there have been periods where we only had like 2 or 3 musicians. But I think at the beginning of last year, all of a sudden we had a lot of new musicians, a lot of new people coming onto the team. And for that, again, we want to thank God so much. For those of you that have joined us that are new, thank you. You don't know how long I've been waiting for you. And it's always a good thing to be able to spread the load and have many people take part so that we can all share and that people don't get burnt out. So thank you again. I want to mention these people by name. So we have the people in the conveners or doing the worship leading. So Bob White, Serge Nobile, Denise Ruick, Shirley Weingartner, Ruth Ahiabor, Mukena Zigomo, Parul Schnitzer, Joe Chun, and Veronica Wildhaber. Now, one of my tasks is that, I'm sort of in charge of putting together the list and the schedule, and also of looking out for new people who I think might want to give of their time, of their experience in the service. And one of my themes has always been, we're an international church, and we want to draw on that international experience of the many members of our congregation. So I've always tried to make it a point to include as many people from as many different nationalities as possible. And I hope that has come across here. Also for the members of the music team, Jenny Mermenthaler, she's been a stalwart. She's been here even longer than I have. And we want to thank God for faithful servants like that. Juhi, Mike and Isa, Colette and Daniel, thank you so much. Annalise Wilder-Smith and Emily, right? And I hope, for me, one of the objectives of worship is really to draw people in, right? When you step into the door, we want to be able to create an atmosphere to be able to draw people into the presence of God, right? And I just want to ask for prayers from the church to continue to pray for the people in the worship team as we work through and as we look forward to the new year. We want to grow together as a church, and we want to really enter together into that spirit of worship as a church and to move forward as a church. And also finally, not to forget the technical team. We want to thank Hyung, Patrick, David, and Edward, who was our new addition from South Africa. There's a lot of work that goes on during the service that a lot of you necessarily don't see, but what you will see is people running around all the time, right? And when you do have the time, take the time to just appreciate these people and just step up to them and say, thank you, you're doing a good job. I think that's it from me for today. So thank you.
Thank you, Walter. The next report will be from Mike on the 21 budget versus plan.
Hello, everybody. So this is not as juicy of a topic, so I'll try to make it not too dry. But before we get into the numbers, I'd just like to thank you for trusting me as treasurer for one more year for ICL. And I especially want to thank the people also who helped me throughout the year, always counting the money. It's a thing that has to be done every week, and I appreciate because it always has to be done by 2 people. So thank you to everybody who always pitches in and helps. It's highly appreciated. So we can go to the first slide. This is a summary of the income of 2021 the offerings on top. So as a overall broad summary, we can say that we've met the budget. We've slightly exceeded the budget overall, both on revenue line, but also at the end on the bottom line. We are 4% over the budget in terms of offerings. So we reached a total of 184,000 compared to 177. Yeah, so that's, absolutely. We've been extremely blessed this year because obviously, which maybe on the next slide, if you go to the next slide. Oh, first, I'll just mention the bottom part because this year it's a little bit more complicated. So, because we had a couple of special donations. So as you can see, the year-end balance, so 29,000 plus, that has to be taken with a pinch of salt because 9,132 is the Project 40, which is a project that we have carried on into this year, and that's dedicated for that Project 40, which we're expecting to spend now this year in 2022. But it has been put aside, so it has to be deducted for that. Then there's an extra missions donation, which was from one particular donor, which is for 2022, but it was donated in 2021, hence it is to be deducted and taken over to 2022 as well. And then finally, there is also the Uganda mission who is still to receive their monies because I think they haven't gotten an open bank account yet, so we have put that money aside so that we can transfer it as soon as a bank account is opened. So if that is deducted, we're left with 6,000 francs above budget on the bottom line. The next slide, please. This is a history of the offerings over the past years, with the orange one being the budget for 2022, but we'll get into that later. So you can see here that overall we haven't met that amount over the past years, which is a positive. If you go one slide further, you can see the division between online giving and in-service giving. This has increased over the last year, so you can see that 82% is through e-banking, and the rest is on Sunday services. And that's just budget compared to actuals, which we've looked at before, which is about 4% above. Next slide. So this is the payroll expenses of 2021. This is wrongly, so the next two slides, sorry about that, should say 2021, not 2020. Somehow I changed back. Here we have the church cleaning, which is significantly lower compared to budget because this year we basically had no employee cleaning the church. It had been done on a voluntary basis by a number of different people. So hence why the spending on the church cleaning is significantly lower. Overall, if we look at staff costs, we were just slightly below budget with 104,000 compared to 106 for 2021. The next slide. So here is the detailed breakup of the operational costs for 2021. I suppose there's a couple of things. Actually, one thing that I wanted to mention ahead of time is I wanted to also thank Barbara Abley, who did the auditing of the figures of 2021 already. So thank you to her. I'm not going to go through every line. You can ask a question afterwards on anything you'd like, but there's a couple of things that definitely need to be mentioned. So one is the special project, which is the 9,632 francs, which is Project 40. So we haven't spent anything in 2021 on that project, hence the big difference, and that's also what's been brought forward to 2022. Then what you can see also in missions is the 16,500 in budget compared to 12,400. That's also what I explained before, is the amount that is still going to be allocated to Uganda for next year. So that was not spent last year in 2021. Yeah, exactly, that's that. And then finally, special collections is significantly higher than budgeted. That is just positive news for the special collections that were done for missions last year, where people have been extremely generous. So that's the summary for 2021. I'm supposing now is the time for the questions for anybody before we go into 2022.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I think it would be good to have some of the presenters come up here. That's why we brought these chairs up here. Oh, well, he's going to be included with everybody, I think.
I can do the budget 22 now, or?
No, we're going to wait.
Okay.
We're going to wait, but you stay here.
Okay.
There may be some questions for you.
Yeah, good.
I'm glad that wasn't my head there. Okay, so Veronica, come on up here. And Pastor Paul. And who else presented? Missions, Sandra. Well, you don't have to, but let's see. All right, you're gonna. Well, if you're asked a question, you maybe come up on a hot seat. Okay. Veronica, did we miss Veronica? She step out for a minute. Okay. So really, this is question and answer time. So you may have had some notations about any of the presentations. Please don't hesitate to ask. So I'm going to throw it open to the floor. Well.
It's not a question, I have a comment. I have a couple of comments that I'd like to make, and I don't have a particular question. First of all, with regards to the ST report, would it be possible to advertise in the music school of Lucerne for a student to come and practice using the organ? Do you think anybody would be interested from the music school to come and practice for a limited period of time on the organ? Because the organ is a beautiful organ from the company Goll, and it's a little gem. Yeah. If it's not practiced, it goes bad. That's what she's talking about. So,
Well,
is that...
At the moment when Jenny is here, Jenny will play the organ. Every time she's here, she'll play the organ to make sure the air goes through the pipes and then it's in good order. When she's not here, she has asked my son, Tobias, to do it. And when Tobias is not here, I will do it. So currently, it's between the three of us to keep the organ going.
Vivian had a comment.
I think it will be good if Jenny assesses it, because for a student learning to play organ, I wonder whether the keys are enough.
Sorry, Denise, was your, I didn't get the first part of your question. Did you say we should seek out somebody who?
Would it be allowed? Do you approve that we would ask at the music school? Does the ST want that to happen?
I mean, are they just going to practice, or are they going to pay to use it? Or, I mean, organs are not, they're few and far between these days, really. Sure.
I think the motivation behind the question is really the fact that we want to keep it going. And it's not so much the quality of what sound comes out as much as letting the air go through the pipes and making sure that it's utilized. So anyone who can benefit by practicing, that would be great. But the purpose really for us is to get the air going through in order that the organ can keep going.
I mean, it doesn't sound like there's any downsides to it at all. So I wouldn't see why that wouldn't be the case. Okay. But if somebody wants to maybe pay to use it, that would be okay too.
Okay. Yes.
We're not against that, okay?
Okay. I'll ask them. My second comment was also for the ST. I want to raise thanks to the work that the ST has done physically, because it's hard work. Of course, thanks to everybody for every report they've made. But particularly, I want to mention Susan Zimmerman, who has been cleaning the church as part of her duties for the ST for no charge for a long period of time. And I give thanks to Susan for her hard work, and also to Dave. And then, Bridget, I have a question for you about the teen challenge. Bridget, what can we do to help you with this challenge for the teens? Do you need more space?
Well, I talked to Ruth and I wrote to Pascal and Evelyn. If we have a meeting, because right now I don't know what we're going to do. So I have a big question mark, so I cannot answer anything because... Well, the class will be big, and the age group, I think when you have an 11 years old and you have a 17-year-old, the maturity, and then it also comes how you walk with Jesus, how deep is your questions, and there is lots of things that the age group, I don't know, in my view, the age group is not suitable to be comfortable with an 11-year-old question and a 17-year-old question. And so that's the challenge. I don't know. I have no...
I have a question also regarding this topic. What is the age limit for them to go to Sunday school during the service? Because I think at a certain age you're old enough to be here, and that could help. And then in order for the older ones who wouldn't have the Sunday school, and in that more personal setting where they could have questions and have a more personal discussion with somebody, could have a youth group. That could be an option.
Well, actually, we have a class from 11 to 16, but they feel very comfortable in this teens class, so that the older ones, they don't want to leave. So they don't want to join the church. And so that's, yeah, we are, and I agree. Sorry, I don't forget your name. What you say, that would be an option. When you are 17, you go to church. But, we want to give them, we don't want to tear them apart, but we had that thing too that we would create. But there is a lot of ideas out there. We haven't really talked about it, and I want to ask Paul and Evelyn and Ruth. Yeah, but we haven't had a meeting yet, so there is...
Yeah. So maybe if I can just add a little bit to what Bridget has said. So absolutely correct. We haven't had a meeting yet, but we have quite a few ideas floating around. And certainly, Colette, you hit on one of the ideas. I think one of the things that Bridget highlighted is the large age group. In my mind, an 11-year-old is not a teenager. It makes a big difference. So I think we really need to reassess how and when the children leave from the downstairs and go into the, the teens group. I think that's where we got it wrong maybe a year or two ago when we, transferred kids earlier than they should have. I have an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old, so you see the difference. With Phoebe, I can see how she is now as a 14-year-old, and 2 years ago, she was a child. So that is the biggest challenge. But I think it's fine. I think we we sort of did it wrong, but it's fine. We can correct it. We shouldn't continue with what we did. So the children now who are, those 5 boys who are ready, I think in our meeting we should discuss and really assess whether or not they should go into the teens class. Yeah.
Obviously, this discussion is really largely to be carried through outside of an AGM. I think we need to draw this one closed. I have met, albeit quite briefly, with Emily and Lucas, who had the teenage work before Lucas's... Daisy and Lucas before Lucas has travelled away last week. And we recognise that there are questions over the pathway into the teens, but also the pathway out from the teens into the life of the church. So there's ongoing dialogue and a lot of consideration that will be taken. So I appreciate it being raised as an issue, and I can assure you that between Ruth, who heads up, she's the church council's representative to the Sunday school, with myself as the pastor, the Sunday school, through Bridget as well. There will be ongoing ways to be able to try to find God's wisdom and the right way forward. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Maybe just a suggestion, and I think as we look in 22 budget also, will it be possible to have the closing balance as opening balance in income, just to simplify the viewing?
Sure, yeah. In the P&L, or where
in the P&L,
yeah.
in the P&L, yeah.
Is the front door open? Wow. Joe, did you have a question?
Service time. And I know there are a lot of people driving far away and whatnot, and we always start at 10:30, but I'm just wondering if there would be like a consideration to maybe even start at 10. For us, that would be absolutely helpful, but I understand if we can still go with 10:30, but.
Joe, that's one of the resolutions we're going to be voting on later. So it is on the agenda. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Mike, let's continue on with the budget proposal for 2022.
So for the budget 2022, this is also a summary. Given that we've had a very positive year, we didn't traject it upwards in the same way, but we kept it at round about the same level in terms of the offering. So 2021 was 184,000. We've budgeted 2022 at 180, which is still quite a bit above 2020, but we rather stay conservative and then have a positive surprise if things turn out better. But it's about the same level as 2021, which was a very positive year. In other income, you can see the actual 2021 compared to the budget 2022 is lower. The main part is the special income that was for the missions last year. We didn't budget that in again because that was special. So a big part of that is that. And the other part is the apartment that we have upstairs was relatively well occupied last year, and This year we have a number of changes going on, so we didn't budget the full 12 months for both rooms for next year, knowing that there's a couple of changes and maybe a gap or two in terms of the months. So overall income is accordingly lower in 2022. In terms of staff costs, we have 104,000, which was in 2021, and 105,000 is largely the same. And what you can see on the balance below is that minus 23,000, that isn't actually that loss that is budgeted. We budgeted for a zero as we do every year, but that's the additional cost that were carried forward from last year, basically. So you can go to the next slide, please. Patrick, the next slide, please. Thank you. That's just a highlight. Yeah, you can carry on. Thank you. So this is the detailed expenditure for the budget next year. There's a couple of things to highlight, which is again the 9,132, which is planned this year. So maybe we'll get onto that later, but that's budgeted and planned to be spent this year. And then this year, the missions tithes for 2022 are accordingly higher compared to last year, which is the amount that was put over from 2021 to 2022. Other than that, we largely left it on similar levels. Briefly going through it, the rental has not changed, stays the same for the building and the apartments. What we have changed, maybe mention worthy, we have increased the Sunday school a little bit, and we can definitely encourage. I know that a lot of things are paid on personal level, but we do have a budget for the Sunday school, so we've put 1,000 francs in there for next year, and definitely be encouraged to spend that because it's there for the kids to learn. Other than that, we have also included a little bit of a higher amount, 2,000 francs in furniture and general maintenance. I spoke with the ST and they said there's a couple of costs that will probably come up with chairs, etc., that might need to be replaced or fixed, etc. So we've increased that slightly. And those are sort of the key positions that we've really changed in comparison. So for 2022. Overall, it's, as always, it's basically budgeted to a zero. So the amount of income that comes in is what's going to go out. So there's no sort of loss or profit in a sense being made. Then you can go to the next slide. This is a summary of, now comes missions first. And I'll let Sandra quickly present the division of the missions for 2022.
Okay, so if you look at the names, Annalise, Nora, and the Source Group, those are our 3 home missions. A home mission is defined as a mission where one of our members is in direct leadership of that mission, okay? So those are our 3 home missions, and the division of the home missions is to the ratio of 6-5-4. 6 for Nora, 5 for Annalise, 4 for Paul. And I always do, and all the other missions will get a minimum of 1,200. So I do the 1,200 for everybody else, and then the rest of the money is divided in the ratio of 6-5-4. So that's where you get the 4,540 for Annalise, 5,540 for Nora, and for Paul, 3,520. Those are the divisions. And then we have the special, very generous donation of 8,512, which came with specific instructions on the division, as well as adding on a local mission, okay? So that's where you see the 2,104 for Annalise, 3,104 for Nora, and the 2,104 for Paul. And at the bottom, you see Winred Lucerne gets 1,200. So that comes from this very generous donor. Okay, so that your total is then on your right side is the total that each mission will be getting for 2022. Is there any questions? Thank you.
Just to also clarify, as per every year, the 18,400 is made up of the 10% of the previous year of offerings that were given. And then the next slide, please. Thank you, Patrick. I think that's the final slide. This is just the bank account total summary. As per December 2020, we were at 119,000 in total. December 31st, 21, we were at 148,000. And now, just on the 1st of February, we're currently at 152,000. What I'd like to mention is normally here, I think, as a guideline, we try to cover or have on our bank account 6 months of expenses for the church, which in 2021 was around 200,000 for the whole year. So we would need a minimum always of around 100,000 to make sure we have those 6 months, which at the moment we have. That's pretty much it. If there are any questions. Then I just have one further information of this. With this year, 2021, it'll be the 4th year that I've done treasurer, and it'll be my last year. I'll be taking a break after 2021, so 2022. Thank you. So if anybody would like to take on the treasurer role or knows anybody that they feel like could be suited for the treasurer role, please do let me know. I'm happy to provide more information about it also, and there's now still plenty of time left until December. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, so I'm going to call our scrutineers forth here, Roland and Isabella, and give you some vote. First of all, I'm going to pass out the proxy slips. So Bob, you have 4. So that means Bob has 4, so he would get 5 voting slips, right? Nora has 1. I have 1. Sandra has 2. Just hold up that card when the scrutineer comes to you. Thank you. Linda, you have 1. Paul, you have 1. And I've got 1. Okay. Thank you. Shoot, I don't think we distributed any pens, did we? Do we have pens and pencils out there? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. These are very high-tech voting slips, you know, yes and no. Well, when everybody gets their vote, or everybody gets their slip, then we'll talk. Yeah. Everybody got their slips? Thank you. I'm going to give you those. Okay. So the first vote that we'll do today will be on the 2022 budget. So yes would be that you approve the budget. No would be that you do not approve the budget. Please make an X or a check mark on one of those two and fold up your vote, and then they will be collected by the, I'm sorry? Yeah, okay, but you know, we're going to do this officially, so. Okay, so please do that, and scrutineers will collect your votes and count them, and then we will go on to the next agenda item. If I can find my agenda. There it is. That is correct. We should have 44 slips. If we've done this correctly. Okay, while they count them, we'll continue on here. So we got 3 resolutions. Excuse me. There was a request to put in any resolutions well in advance of the meeting, and we got a couple of different resolutions, so that's what we're going to be voting on next. The first one was a proposal for a mid-year special general meeting by Annalise Rechkoff. She proposed that a special general meeting be held approximately 6 months after the 2022 AGM to discuss the past 6 months and plans for the next 6 months. Pastor, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, in Annalise's absence here today, I said to her that I would just highlight this as well. I don't know why I'm going up to the platform here. Yeah, she expressed her heart as to why she's brought this proposal forward. Just feels that on an annual basis, these meetings can cover a certain amount of ground. But for the membership to be able to have halfway through the year an opportunity for further discussion, feedback, vision sharing, things like that, to reinforce that sense of togetherness as a church, that's very much her thought behind it. So I certainly am keen to add support for this proposal. Is there any key question as to why she wants to bring that?
So what would be on the agenda? So my question would be, what would be on the agenda for the special general meeting mid-year? And does that mean that each department will then be giving 2 reports every year?
No, it's more an opportunity for members to be able to give feedback generally as to how the year is going, how they feel about where things are, questions about the overall direction of the church. An opportunity to hear from myself as the pastor and maybe some others if there was a specific area of focus we were going down, maybe, for example, training, that I would ask somebody to share something in that meeting as well. There's no set format as such. It's very much information sharing, an opportunity for dialogue, two-way communication in an alternative meeting to the AGM halfway through the year.
Isn't it true that already in the new constitution there's a line that every 3-4 members can, 5 members, if they get together, they can appoint a special meeting anywhere in the year? So it's already there. What's, okay.
This is proposing that this becomes a set fixed thing, not having to call again something. This is a proposal that we would put that into the calendar halfway through the year.
And when is it envisaged? July is normally a month where we have half of people already on holiday. So when would this be? Because if it's biannual, then you would expect it midway through.
Yeah, midway through from here would be start of August time, but I would imagine probably towards the end of August or beginning of September would probably be appropriate. It's something we could explore together. As though we're not putting a fixed time down. It's the proposal is whether that would be something that would be of benefit. It's something that Annalise, thought would be sufficiently important to raise as a proposal to the AGM.
Okay, so Paul, through Annalise, is raising this as a resolution and or proposing this. Does someone second this to have this voted on? You're proposing it. You're proposing it. Yeah. Do I have a second? Vivian is seconding. Okay, so we will vote on this. Is there need for more discussion on this? Are there other comments?
I think it would just be good to encourage people to be on committee before the end of the year happens. It could be a time to really get people encouraged to join on board. So it could be a positive, but we have to make sure it's after school holidays.
Other comments? Okay, we will ask the scrutineers to come forward. By the way, the budget was unanimously approved. Okay, while they're counting those votes, we will proceed to the next one. Request for further week of annual leave. Get my resolution out here. Due to the very challenging times experienced almost from the very start of his appointment due to COVID and also due to his age, Pastor Paul is formally proposing to the church membership that a 6-week holiday allowance, 1 week more than currently, be given for the 3rd year of his contract.
I'm sure all of you will have some understanding of how the last 2 years have gone. It's been a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be. I'm always up for a challenge. Coming here was certainly going to be a challenge in the first instance, but 2 weeks in to have the lockdown and the COVID thing was certainly not anticipated. Whenever I do anything, I put my everything into it. The workload has been large. It's been quite a lot of added things with having to make adjustments to plans and developments and things that may not have been quite in the way that they have done. So the last 2 years have taken their toll, and I do fight with fatigue. I've been in the church every Sunday since mid-October, with an exception of one Sunday when I was in Uganda, and I was preaching that Sunday in Uganda. So I'm carrying a fatigue. I am looking forward to taking, at the start of my new contractual year, which is the 1st of March, directly 2 weeks holiday from that date to step back and rest and recover. It's been a very busy period of time. And so with all that reflection, I'm obviously wanting to try to be a healthy pastor, to develop a healthy church and help to move things forward in the right way. And in discussions with others, understood that in many places, once you reach a certain age, you get another week. However, having considered this further and spoken to a number of folk in the church, I've prayed about this again, and I don't feel it's my place to bring a proposal for me to have an extra week. So I'm taking this proposal off. It's a contractual change. My current contract says that I have 5 weeks, and I'm going to stick with that.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Paul. So we're pulling that back. We're not going to vote on that. Okay. Bob?
I understand Paul's point of view, but I also feel, I'm not sure of the law of Switzerland. I'm not sure of the law of Switzerland, but I thought when you got to a certain age, you got an extra week anyway. 6 weeks.
Do we, I don't know the details of Pastor Paul's contract, but do we have anything in place for like a sabbatical or whatnot? I know it's an annual contract, but it's a 3-year contract. See, I don't know the details, but like sabbatical to be rewarded, like I think the health of a pastor is so important. And if there was something that would be considered in that regard.
So Pastor Paul is the person that proposed this topic, yes, Dave? Right. So Pastor Paul, as the proposal of this topic, has withdrawn his proposal. If someone else would like to propose on his behalf, that's your prerogative.
I mean, coming back to your thing about a sabbatical, I mean, there is, he can take unpaid leave if he wants, and there is some leave for time away with missions. Was that right? Yeah, I realize that, but I mean, so no, there's no specific time, in the contract for a sabbatical as such. Not within the first 3 years. Yeah.
And so maybe in his current contract, something would be accounted for in that regard.
Okay. Let's get through the first three first, he said.
Yeah, in addition of what he said, must a sabbatical or whatever leave, must it be a paid leave or an unpaid leave? I think there's in the contract a room for unpaid leave either way, isn't it?
Well, the pastor is talking about fatigue, and I think we should take that serious. And I really should think that we can make it just for this year and see how it is. And next year we vote on it again and see how it is going, because this COVID period was just, it was so hard on everybody, but especially on the pastor. And I plead for just that we vote on it, okay? That's it. I can take this on me. Yeah, I propose the vote. I propose that vote, okay?
Hi, thanks. To follow on from what Bob said, it is standard industry practice to increase leave as you get older. So almost all industry contracts have that in, that at 50, at 40 years, you get a little bit extra. At 50, you get a little bit extra, and often at 60 as well. Have you just proposed now that this motion goes forward? Is that possible to the chairman? Is that okay? I second it. I second it.
Okay, I just want to clarify this. Yes, you're right that as you go older in age, there are many companies and organizations who give additional vacation, but that is not under Swiss employment law. That is not mandatory. Most of our pastors in the past have had 4 weeks of vacation. I've got the contracts. Maybe a few of them have had 5, but a lot of them have had 4. Even Reagan had 4. Reagan Wilson, you need to know that. And we're going here from 5 to 6. So I'm just putting that out there. And again, there's no legal mandatory requirement for us to do this. Okay, so we have a proposal and we have a second. So I'm going to ask for a vote. That's the vote for 1 year, yes. For 2022. Well, the proposal is okay, the proposal says for, what does it say on the agenda? Of annual leave, but it's for 2022. It's for the third year of Pastor Paul's contract, which is from March 1 till February 28, 2023. Okay?
Would you like to hear the proposal again? Does everybody know what they're voting on here? The proposal reads, from Nora, that 1 more week of annual leave is granted for 2022, beginning from March the 1st, which is the contract year of Pastor Paul, until February 23 next year. That would mean 6 weeks annual leave for the year, contractual year 22 to 23.
Are all the votes in for that one? Okay, so the vote on the having a mid-year SGM was 20, there was only 43 votes because I was only voting on the budget for Carolyn. Was 24 yes and 19 no. So that is a simple majority and that passes. So we will have a mid-year SGM. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can send us a postcard from the beach. Okay, as we count those up, I want to go to the third resolution, and that was a change of start time of Sunday service, Joe. The proposal, which I made, was we have started our Sunday service at 10:30 for many years. Recently, we went to 2 weekly church services due to COVID restrictions, the first service starting at 10 o'clock. Most people signed up for the earlier service, so it begs the question as to whether members would actually generally prefer to start the service 30 minutes earlier. So that's why I put it up there, and I'm proposing to move the start of time of Sunday services from 10:30 to 10 o'clock, and that would be the standard time. So I'm proposing that. Does anybody second that? To start from, I don't know, to start from when? Immediately? I don't know. Maybe. So starting from March, would that first Sunday in March? So so let's say starting from the first Sunday in March. So that gives a few weeks of 2 people. Yes, Nora? It would be changed from 10:30 to 10 o'clock starting. One service, starting at 10 instead of 10:30, okay? Yeah, let's have some discussion. Maybe there's discussion on this.
So if the service starts, well, I'm just giving you my timetable, right? So if service starts at 10 and I'm on duty, and I need to get here at least half an hour earlier, preferably 45 minutes with all the setup. That means I have to leave my house at 8:15 in the morning. It means I have to get up, on a Sunday. Not that I can't do it, but, I think we need to also consider those that maybe live a bit further away that are also serving, and we need to find something that works well for everybody.
And we have a teenager. He's not going to wake up at 7 in the morning and get here for church.
Be interested to know from those with young children whether half an hour makes a difference or not.
Wait, Nora first.
Just make it 10:15. That's.
For our family, 10:30 is also nice. It's nice to have a nice morning, and I totally support Walter and his thoughts, and I think that's also important to see that side. And for us as a family, when we finish church service at 12:15, it takes us about 30 minutes to go home. And so we're rushing out of here because the kids need to sleep at 1, and so we barely have a chance to eat lunch together as a family. We have barely any chance to socialize with any of our community here at church. And so it's kind of just like, it's chaotic, and the kids are unhappy, they're crying, on the drive back, and just that extra 30 minutes would definitely be helpful. But at the same time, we're kind of used to it, and so we don't mind sacrificing this one day of the week. But yeah, just a thought from our side.
Well, we used to finish at 11:45, and so then we had social time to 12:15. And before that, we used to start church at 11 o'clock because the other service, Methodist Church, met at 9 o'clock. So we've changed around for several times, but I do see people walk in late all the time. So it begs the question, if we start at 10, will they still come in at 10:30 or a quarter of 11? If that's the case, then we need to cut down the music or we need to cut something else down so that, as you said, you get home in time or whatever. And I think it's important to have some social time afterwards also. So it's hard to make everything fit in, but yeah, it can work. We just need to work out the possibilities and see what's best.
What about having some social time before church?
I'm glad that we're having a discussion. I wasn't aware of the details of this proposal. I am trying to listen to both sides very carefully and also trying to anticipate a time ahead when we won't have the COVID restrictions and we are able to go back to having lunch together after church. And that then also begs the question, is a 10:30 start better if we're going to stay on for lunch? Or if we start at 10, we're going to be finished by 11:15, 11:30. That's a little maybe too early. I don't know. It's very important that we can have a discussion on this and try to take in the various viewpoints of different people.
I'd like to get some input from Brigitte on the Sunday school, and how that affects the Sunday school.
I don't know. I can see both sides. I mean, I had once little children too. Yeah, for me it's really hard to say, and I cannot talk for families. I don't know. But I can see that you want to join lunch together, but I can also see that you want to socialize.
When we had several weeks starting, we had 2 services. Did you see less parents here at 10 o'clock with kids, or more parents? Did you get any feedback from parents on starting earlier? What was the general comment from parents with Sunday school kids?
I think it was positive. We had families, and the families liked it. Sorry.
Can I suggest that if we do go forward to change the time, that we're not necessarily having to make that rigid every single Sunday throughout the year? That if we do have monthly, if we go back to lunch times once every month or every 6 weeks or whenever, that maybe then we start the service slightly later in order that it's more suitable to have lunch together afterwards. If we do accept this proposal to start at 10, does that mean that every service throughout the year then has to be 10? Maybe if we do an open air somewhere, extra journey time, that service won't start necessarily at 10. I think we can build certainly a degree of flexibility within this according to the church calendar, the church year.
I would suggest, because of the lunches, it's actually good then after a service to have time to quietly set up the tables, get everything going, so that the lunch can be ready just before 12. I don't see a problem with that, but I understand. I mean, it's just like what was previously mentioned. Some people have a long way to drive. Other of us are dashing home trying to get the roast out of the oven. We need to talk about it and have a little bit of give and take.
And I do want to really consider Walter because he is a man that does a lot of prep before Sunday services, and I think that does carry some weight.
Maybe just some reply to Pastor Paul's idea of being flexible. I don't think this is a good idea, especially after COVID, for the tourists. I mean, it's written in the newspaper every week on Friday, what time the services on the churches start. And I'm sure they will be confused, and hopefully we have tourists back in summer, and so that's not such a good idea to have it switching back and forth.
I like the idea, like Roland said, keeping it, but getting out punctually. And that would help both points, because when we go over to 12:15, everybody's antsy and the kids are in Sunday school too long. And I think sometimes maybe we only need to do 2 songs instead of 3 or 4 songs. I don't know. I think there's a compromise here, so it could make everybody happy. But if we keep changing too much, people show up at the wrong times, the website doesn't get done, newspaper doesn't get done, and some people that only come 4 times a year would miss out too. And people do come in late a lot, so just FYI. And the servers might be not so happy. And also, when we have to make food, we need that extra 30 minutes to make it and get it and bring it here if we do have lunches.
Okay, thank you. I just thought it was a good thing to bring it forward because we started earlier, and I thought it would be a good thing to discuss. So we've had a good discussion on it, and I guess it's time to vote on it. Yeah. Sorry.
Those of us who've been here a while, like Sandra and Walter and Susan and others, we've been here before. When the Swiss church moved out, we were having services at 11 o'clock, and nobody was happy with that, but we had no choice because the Swiss was their building and they were here first. When they went, we had a long discussion about what time the service should be. Should it be 11 o'clock? Should it be 10:30? Should it be 10? And after a long discussion, we decided on 10:30 because it fitted very well. Well, not very well, but the best we could do to fit everybody, where many people come a very long distance. When we're talking about a very long distance, we're talking about 1 hour's travel. And people like Walter and others who are leading or involved in have a lot of work to do before when they arrive here. So they're getting here half an hour, 45 minutes earlier. So it's quite a rush for some people. And yeah, I'm open to trying it, but I would not like to put it in concrete right now until we've tried it a bit, if that was possible.
Well, I made a proposal, so do we want to table this and vote on it another time? Do we want to vote on it today? I know he did. I realize that, but I hear a lot of. I mean, I'm hearing some gnashing of teeth here. So, I mean, maybe we need to just. We're going to have a mid-year, meeting. Maybe we should table it till mid-year and just keep it till 10:30. I'm willing to table the proposal, even though it's been seconded. I don't know if I can do that. I'm not a Robert's Rules of expert. There we go. So, shall we just table that for now? I think let's just table it for now because I hear some pushback, and I think yes, Veronica.
Perhaps besides tabling it, but also considering targeting for the current service that starts at 10:30 to target finishing 4 to 12.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like a good compromise. Okay, so let's do that. It is hereby tabled until the next time around, and I'm sure we'll have a chance to discuss in the meantime. Yes. She would like to, we stay at 10:30, but she would strongly advise that we finish our service by 11:45. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. To kind of, get families out earlier and things like that. All right. Is everybody okay with that? Does that seem like a good compromise? I think communion goes maybe a little longer. Okay, we have the votes in for the pastor's request for additional vacation. The vote was 36 yes, 6 no, 1 abstention. So that is passed. And the last one is tabled. So the last one, and we're at 3 o'clock here now, so time is really moving. I just wanted to give a very short update on the audiovisual project. Patrick, could you put that slide up? Thank you. So Mike mentioned the Project 40 money, and that's in there. And we've had the stewardship team has had discussion with the church council about a project that we had envisioned. And several of us are kind of, if you look at the slide, over the wall over there, and you're constantly looking up. Some of us are getting neck aches looking up at this beamer all the time. So we thought about, well, what else could we do, besides just replacing the beamer? So we looked at a concept like this, and this would be like this is a mobile unit. You can see there from that picture. And it's got wheels on it, and if you could just down a little bit, the TV screen is on top. This thing goes up and down, so you can put it at various heights. And the concept here would be that the unit would be up here. There'd be a pretty large television screen on that unit. It would have the PowerPoint slides, words to the song on it. We would then have a couple of different TV screens on the walls. So one up here and one over here that would have the same image as is on that television screen. So if you had a presenter here and you had that mobile screen there, you can see that. It's because we have a lot of blocked angles here in this church. We have these large posts here. If anybody has been in the balcony, it's very challenging to see the pastor. Susan tells me there used to be a thing for the pastor to climb up in, which was typical in Swiss churches, and then people could see him in the balcony, but that's gone now, so we don't have that. The pastor would control the presentation with a laptop. All the connections would be wireless, so there's not going to be a bunch of wires around. And we feel that that would be an upgrade to what we have now. We've discussed this with the church council as a concept. We have asked now officially a company to give us some technical input into this to understand what kind of equipment we would need to make it work. When we get this proposal, we're going to review it with our technical team, so make sure that it jives with everything that we have here. We still want to do online services. We still want to do the streaming. We want to have that image and a camera on the pastor. So this is just the concept that we're working on, and we wanted to make the church aware of it now because probably in the coming couple of months we'll be coming with a concept. And I mean, obviously, if there's input, if there's other ideas, we'd be more than happy to hear that. Rather than just replace the beamer, we thought we'd get a little bit more creative than that and try to do something a little bit more modern. So that's the concept. Any questions or comments, Pastor?
I appreciate a lot of what the stewardship team have been doing practically in trying to sort so many issues out. And certainly this is one that is a big one, to get the audio-visual side of things right, not just in the meeting itself, but for those online. As long as we've got monitors, that will be sufficient for those upstairs as well. Did you point up the top as well as down? And in these corners at the front as well, for those who are hidden behind the pillars. Yeah, well, I think we would have to still look possibly at dead angles in the section where Christian is. I don't know, we'd need to have a look. But coupled with that is still an issue with online, is the congregational participation as we sing or as we do what we did last week, where we break into groups for prayer. I think it'd be so much. I've heard a lot of comments about online. It's very poor to capture something of the service as a whole with the congregation, unless we've got a means of being able to have microphones within the body of the church to pick up the community, the communal singing. So if that could be added into this, the audio as well as the visual, I think that would be a big important point.
Not everybody wants to be heard as well. So that might be, you have to consider that as well.
I would suggest we separate that, the audio visual part, and then the sound stuff is something that the DRT can look into. So will be an issue. Well,
Hopefully we won't need online much longer. No. They should come in person after COVID stuff.
don't you still want to broadcast for other people? Yeah.
Well, we have people who follow us services from up there. That's mostly the messages.
I mean, I get that, since we've already invested in all this stuff, we should make use of it, and then we should add some. I mean, so the idea is just to do away with this totally, and just have TV screens.
That would be the idea.
No, I mean, we'll have to wait for the proposal and see what they say, and then we'll see. But if you're talking about wireless, I'm not sure. It's pretty complicated, and then it could cost more than what we expected.
That's why we're asking
I have just two comments. The first one would be, if we have that movable TV in front, then we already have the musicians' small space, so we will have to move it every time, and that could be, I don't know, we have to see that of where do we put it, or if we change the musicians, but we will have to figure that out, that we don't ruin also the equipment. And the second thing, going to forward with the streaming, I think, and this is something maybe we can consider as a church, to not have the whole service, but just the sermon part online, because that's what mostly all churches does. They don't put the whole service, but just this sermon. That's something that we can consider in the future also, not to go into privacy issues, and with microphones, maybe people don't want to be heard. So.
I also wanted to support Isabella, what she said with the mobile TV, because it's quite small there in the front, and it would be maybe better if we keep the projector there. Maybe it's not the same quality, of course, but the thing will just always be in the way, and then it needs to be moved. But the screen's on the side, then that's a very good idea.
I also just have a question about the equipment and that corner. It's quite a messy corner. And I don't know anything about the equipment, but it needs to be sorted out. And something needs to happen there, and I'm willing to help, but I can't do it by myself because I don't know what's going on there. Okay.
Thanks. I think we're getting very good inputs. Obviously, it seems as though that elevating platform it could be a problem, but maybe for the cost of not having that elevating platform, you can have a much bigger TV right up front. So instead of the screen, you have a big TV. So I think there are many options, and as this concept progresses, then I think all the inputs can mature to a perfect solution.
Okay, so there are some other benefits. This would mean that we had a perfect picture, a perfect video, sharp, clear, no matter how sunny it is. There wouldn't be any more raising and lowering these blind, the blinds. you could, so once again, see the cross on the wall up front. And the idea, this would not be out all the time. It could be simply pulled over to the side when not in use. It also, we want to put a ramp in, so if you wished, it could be used for a classroom in the back or for smaller gatherings here. So it's really to be a mobile TV screen, quite large. We've seen some of these stands. They're very, very stable, heavy duty, can be raised and lowered, just all the bells and whistles. We met with a professional man that's going to make a proposal to us, met with him this week, and we're waiting on his tally of exactly how much this would cost.
Well, and not only what it would cost, but how it would work, because that's very important. That's what we need to understand is the wireless aspect and that it works. And but your comments are well taken. I'm going to stop it there because we're really running late here. But we wanted to just make sure we talked about that. Very interesting input from the musicians. I think we want to make sure our musicians have room, and we have to take that into consideration. And this isn't the final proposal at all. It's just floating ideas. So thank you for your patience. It's already 10 after 3. I think we've gone long enough here, and I'm glad that we got through the whole agenda. We have a closing prayer, and I think we're gonna ask Ruth to give that. Ruth is going to give the closing prayer.
No, it's not Veronica. All right. So, yeah, we thank God for bringing us to the end of this. Can we bow our heads, please, in prayer? Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this meeting today. We thank you for the opportunity to discuss very important things that concern our community here. And we thank you for the spirit in which all those discussions have happened today. We are so grateful. We praise you for the new ideas and the things that we've agreed, oh God, to take forwards into 2022. We pray for more grace, we pray for more wisdom, and we pray for more love and togetherness as we move forwards as a family together. Thank you so much. And we pray that, Lord, as we leave from here, you take all of us to our various homes safely. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I propose we adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.